one's coming to save you. So what are you gonna do about it? Raw Minds on men's mental health. Hosted by Erick. For the ones we never meet.
Welcome back
Raw
to
Minds.
Raw Minds Podcast. First, I just want to say
Men's
thank you.
mental
If
health.
you've been wondering where I've been,
Hosted
I've
by
been away
Erick.
for the last 4 weeks.
Follow,
I didn't
subscribe,
confuse
like,
you.
share.
I just needed some time, and some
the ones we
of that
never
time
meet.
was spent taking care of some
You're not
personal
alone.
things that needed my full attention, and some of it was spent with my daughter because being a dad always comes first. And I also spent countless hours building 2 projects that I truly believe that's going to help a lot of people. And one is Parent Path. It's something I'm proud I poured my heart into, and I'm proud to release it pretty soon. And it's built to help parents who are going through family court, especially the ones who can't afford a lawyer and feel completely lost. I'm not ready to share everything yet, but trust me, it's going to be coming soon, and I think it's going to change a lot of lives. The other one is Fridge Fix. A completely different project, but one that I'm just excited about. I've been putting it in long days and long hours and long nights, trying to build something that makes everyday life a little easier for people. And sometimes life asks you to step back so you can build something bigger. But I'll tell you this, I miss this. I miss these conversations. I miss hearing stories that remind people you're not alone. So thank you for waiting. If this is your first time here, welcome to Raw Minds family. Do me a favor before we get started. Hit the follow, leave a review, share this episode with someone that you care about. Every share helps us reach other people who are fighting the battles that they haven't told anyone about. Now, let's get into today's episode. Today's guest has lived through things most people could never imagine. He didn't read about the war. He walked through it. He didn't hear gunfire on television. He heard it while wondering if he'd make it home. He survived the United States Marine Corps combat veteran. He was wounded 3 times, separate times. He carried the impossible responsibility of telling families their son and hundreds of fathers weren't coming home. Most people think surviving war is the hardest part. For Keith Cole, it wasn't. The real battle started after a uniform came off. From then 50 years, he carried invisible wounds that nobody could see while the world saw a successful CPA. Respected businessman, husband, a father, he was quietly drowning under decades of trauma, stress, burnout, and emotional pain. Then one day, everything broke. Not because he was weak, because even the strongest people eventually run out of strength. That breaking point became the beginning of something completely different. Instead of pretending, he chose healing. Instead of carrying everything alone, he surrendered and rebuilt his life through faith. Today, he's helping people who feel exhausted, overwhelmed, burnt out, and completely empty discover that recovery is actually possible. This isn't just another interview about military service. This is a conversation about every person who smiled while secretly falling apart. Every father carrying more than he admits. Every mother who feels like she's failing. Every business owner who looks successful but feels broken. And every veteran still fighting battles nobody else can see. If you ever looked in the mirror and wondered how much longer you can keep going, this episode's for you. Thank you, Keith, and thank you for your service, man. Welcome to Raw Minds, and I appreciate you having on here.
Thank you very much. I am just privileged, Eric, to be here, and I thank you. And I thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited, and when you sent me the email and I read your story, and then I looked a little bit on your books there, man. It's like what I would say, what a roller coaster, you know what I mean? And like what a roller coaster. But we'll get a little bit more into that. Before we do start, I do want you to please, if you can, plug where people can find you, your book, and more information about yourself as well before we start.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. The name of the book is Burnout, God's Recovery Plan, and that's available, of course, on Amazon. But in addition to that, I have a website, which is recoverybyfaith.com, and so that everything can be found there, the books, the workbook, and as well as newsletter and a blog that comes out once a month.
And they can also download the PDF version of the workbook as well off of the website too.
Right, that's on the website. You can to get the PDF. It's costs less that way and
Yep.
quicker. But then also the published workbook is also available through Amazon.
Yes. And it'll all be also in the links in the bio too. And as you see on the screen too, you can just click the little thing and it should take you right to the website. Before though we talk about everything you survived, who is Keith before the Marines? If you could please let us know.
Before the Marines, I was a little kid, but the, the thing of that is that I grew up not to become a Marine. I grew up to be a minister, actually.
Really?
And so I spent a lot of time as a little kid playing preacher. And so I had an imaginary congregation that I would preach to that was on the stairway that led to the upstairs in our house. And sometimes, Eric, people in church like to talk, and I'd have to sometimes call a couple of them out to settle down while I'm preaching. But I was a very happy kid. I enjoyed playing with my friends as well as my church services that I conducted. And in fact, I had just about 12 years of perfect attendance to my Sunday school class growing up as a kid. And then my dad died when I was a senior. And then that's when, looking back now, I can tell that was trauma number one. That hit me very hard. I blame God for everything because my dad was a railroader. Been a railroader from the time he was 17 until the day he died when he was 52. And so he was big, strong, very strong man. And so it couldn't have been his fault that he had a stroke. And so I blame God for everything. I blame God for not answering my prayer and saving my dad. And that turned my life upside down. And I totally became rebellious. Through the rest of the time in school, I even started smoking after that. And I drink beer when I could get a hold of it. I was still underage, but so that just created pretty much an uproar in my life. And at that time, then I was only thinking of myself. I never considered my mother, who had just lost her husband, or my younger brother and sister, who also lost their dad. And so I was pretty selfish on that. But everything the best way to put it was rebellious. And after high school, then I joined the Marines. And of course, at that time, Vietnam War was going on. So I saw that.
What made you, though, like as a young man, what made you want to join the Marines, especially, like you said you were not supposed to, like you're raised not to. So what made you take that course?
Well, not so much that I was raised not to, but I was going to be. I had 3 older brothers who were Marines. So as a kid, I wanted to be a minister, and I had already planned. I thought, well, maybe what I could do, because the Marine Corps doesn't have chaplains. They use the Navies.
Okay.
So the Navy chaplain gets assigned to the Marine Corps. So even growing up, even at that age, I thought, well, I could become a chaplain in the Navy and be attached to the Marine Corps. That way to appease my older brothers, But all that just strictly went away. And I was just full of anger, just totally rebellious and everything. And I thought the Marine Corps would be good for me. I could get rid of some of my anger that way because I would just, war is going on. I thought, well, that's good. Let me go to war.
Yeah.
And I said that until I got there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as a little kid, like, man, like it's because like you said, you were a kid when you went into this, right? Like pretty much into the Marines.
Yeah, I just
right?
graduated from high school. So
yeah. So
still
a kid.
Yeah,
a kid. You know what I mean? Really, like to me, I would say, and no offense to anybody, but at least up to like 20, I'd say even 24 to me. I'm 42, it's still a kid. I like, man, even it took me 28 to really become, an adult, really. So, but on that, like,
yes,
yeah, definitely. So when did you stop feeling like a kid? Like when did because you would have to immediately really, like this is real, when did that all happen?
The day I arrived at Marine Corps boot camp and got off that bus and stepped on those yellow footprints, I knew I was in a different world.
And was it like on the movie, straight up, soon as you come out, they're yelling like Major Pain on there or whatever? I mean, were they just tearing you down like back in the day? Was it like that?
When I was in the Marine Corps, because of the war was going on, boot camp was 8 weeks, not 13. They shortened it. That entire 8 weeks until graduation from boot camp, it was exactly that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So did you have ever a point in your, like, did you ever have a point in your life where you're like, I don't know if I can do this when you're going through it?
Didn't have really much time to think about that I couldn't do anything. The Marine Corps training is such that I was going to do or die
Okay.
type, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real McCoy.
Well, I mean, the Marines are the first to go in, aren't they? Right? If I'm correct, right? They send them in and
First to fight
Yeah.
for right and freedom. Yes.
yeah. Because my friend's he's in the Canadian Military Force, but he's a Marine and he's done. I think he did 4 tours. You know, I think you have to do 1 mandatory, and then he went back and did 3 more.
Oh.
And thank God that he's here. You know, he's a
Oh,
true
yeah.
hero, definitely, right? But he said, like, he's told me a little bit, and it's like, yeah, it's like you're in there, you're in the dirt, right? You're like you're there. It's there, it's real. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Cool.
So please go on if you could. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's just fine. That's pretty much was my childhood.
Yeah. And then so from there, so after you've done that, you get deployed. What was that like? Like going through your mental state? Because
Well-
you're just also you're dealing with a loss with your dad still, right? Like you haven't really processed this at this point too. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I was from that night. I came home. I was working at a grocery store, and I just when I got home, I got within a visual eyesight of my house. I could see the Cadillac out front, and I knew that was a bad sign. And then I'd go in and have other family members there, and my mother's talking to the funeral director in the living room, and I knew that was the end.
Yeah.
And
It was a
so,
hard moment.
but in Marine Corps boot camp, I didn't have a lot of time to think about the loss of my dad. My major thought was not to have to worry about the loss of me.
Yeah. You want to come home, right? Definitely. Yeah.
And it was interesting, to say the least. But
Yeah. And yeah. So go on. Sorry.
so after the Marine Corps boot camp, then was advanced infantry training. And then after that, then was machine gun school. I was selected to be a machine gunner. And so I go to machine gun school, and the sergeant there says, okay, you guys, you're machine gunners because you're smarter than those other guys. This Marine Corps is in trouble if I'm a smart one. But then after that, then went home on leave for the first time, and then back to Camp Pendleton for what was called staging, and that was a little more training, and then getting ready to go fly off to Vietnam. And so, but that was a pretty rapid thing,
Was that scary though too? Because you're like staging, so where you're like you don't know when you're gonna go, but like you're going. But like, is that what you meant? Like you're kind of just in limbo of like waiting to go?
Well, we were kept very busy in the training and stuff in the staging portion of it. So, I mean, sure, I guess there were thoughts, we're going into combat, have no idea what it's going to be like, even though every training, every time we were trained by any Marine from the very first day, they were all combat veterans. They had all been to Vietnam. And so, we were told a lot about Vietnam.
And how long was Vietnam going on before you stepped like boots on the ground, as you would say?
Well, I got there in October of 1966, and so it started. I think it started maybe, I'm not sure, maybe in the 1960 or so. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that, but I'm not positive of that.
Yeah. I mean, and if anybody what they can Google it, you guys can Google it. That's what the internet's for, right? But we're just talking. But yeah. Okay. So it was going for a bit before you had boots on the ground.
Yeah. So by the time I went, October 66, we had a lot of Americans and Allied forces. A lot of people had been killed by that time. So I mean, the war was definitely cooking.
Yeah.
Starting up, right? It was starting to go. And so it was like, actually, when I went, it was on television all the time.
Okay.
So you could sit down and watch the war right on TV.
Crazy. Yeah.
No, yeah, truly crazy.
Yeah. It is.
That's like It's like I always told my family it was a lot worse. It was a lot worse on them than it was me, because I
Yeah.
knew when I was in trouble. They didn't.
Yeah.
They never knew.
Yeah. They just see all the action and all that probably, right? They don't. Yeah.
Right. They'd turn on the television. There's the Vietnam War's going on.
Yeah.
And so, maybe that was yesterday, maybe that was a week ago, but they're still showing it over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what breaks money, right? It's sad, but that's what brings in money, and they just kind of, it's sad at the end of the day, but yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then,
Yeah.
of course, too, during the Vietnam War, when the airplanes would come back with the casualties, those who were deceased, they came back in caskets to
Mhm.
Delaware, and they'd land in Delaware, and they would have all these Americans with the American flag over their casket coming off, and that was all on television.
Mhm. God.
Wars after that, they quit that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. God.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. So, like you said too, that you were injured 3 times, right? While you were there too.
You know what? I was there for 6 months. Been in, several battles, and never was wounded, never was shot. 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm almost halfway through, and then I got wounded the first time. And
Crazy.
that time I was wounded. I was medevaced. I went to a ship hospital, and then
If you don't mind me asking, did you get shot or shrapnel or
that was a mortar round.
mortar round? Okay.
We were on our company was out walking through the jungle and stuff, and so we're getting ready to set up a perimeter for the night. And the squad I was with, I was in a weapons platoon, but I was attached to a infantry squad because I was a M60 machine gunner.
Mm-hmm.
And so our squad was chosen to go recon the area, find a place to set up an ambush later that night. And so while we're doing that, and we're walking across a rice paddy, which hadn't been used it looked like for several years. It was pretty well beat up. And about that time, I heard a pop, and it was a mortar round coming in. And so, of course, we all hit the deck, and I dove behind us, what was ever left of a dike on the rice paddy. So I had most of my body sticking above the dike. And I looked around for a better place to be, because had very little protection. And I saw there was a bomb crater, and I thought, well, I could get over there. But I thought, no, if I get up and run, I might have the mortar round as a souvenir. So I stayed where I was, but then they were stepping
so to come closer,
closer like that. And so I'm hearing this step.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I thought, oh man, this is not good, because it just get closer and closer, right? And then when it hit, instantaneous thoughts just, must be like nanoseconds or something. Like all these different thoughts. And so my first thought was that it got me right in the back. It was a direct hit on my back. But what happened, it hit a little bit away from me, but all the shrapnel just flew. And just like, it was like someone would shovel dirt with stones in it or something like that, and shove it all, throw it on top of you.
Very hot stones.
Yeah, very hot. It was hot. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was burning its way through me.
Mm-hmm.
But when that happened, I had a helmet on, but there was space back there. It hit me in the back of the head, my shoulder, my hip, my leg. And so the first thought was, they killed me. Then the next thought was, I wasn't even wounded. And, but then I, felt the blood, and I thought, oh yeah, I am.
Yeah. You got your adrenaline's going through you too, so you're not feeling everything at the time. I mean, let's face it, your adrenaline's just living in your body. I mean, you're in the middle of war, and you're getting bombarded by mortars, and it's stepping towards you. I mean, I think your adrenaline is working overtime at this point,
It was working pretty good. And then because then just back a little bit to where there were small arm fire also. So it was a pretty dangerous situation.
Yeah, no kidding.
But the corpsman managed to get over to where I was, and he patched me up as good as he could in different parts. And then we called artillery in on them. And so that paused that for a bit. And 2 other Marines helped me get back to our camp base.
Yeah. And then you were flown off, like you said,
Yeah.
to the ship.
Right. Then there were a couple of us who were wounded at the same time. So we were both medevac to the ship at the same time.
Thank God, though, that you guys were okay. That's scary, especially, and I used to play a lot of military sim games, right? Simulation
Oh, yeah.
games.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's this one called Arma, right? Arma 3, it's called. I think even some of the military even use it for have used it just to help, like it's so sophisticated, this game. And they had the one called Vietnam Prairie Fire, it's called. And I like just playing it though, like playing the game, like I can't imagine, I mean, how dark it is. Like it's supposed to be realistic, so how dark it is, you need flares, how like the jungle you're fighting, and you're in someone else's territory, and it must be like, I can't believe how scary. And I want to say, I love the Vietnamese people. They're lots of my friends, so no hate them. Actually, they're the number 3rd top listening to this podcast. It's the 3rd top country. So I want to say thank you, for everything, and whatever happened in the past, and we move forward for it. And yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to give some love to them too. So
Absolutely. Sure.
yeah. Yes. But anyway, sorry to take that. But yeah, like, so I was saying, like, I was playing the game, and it, like, even playing the game, like, can't imagine, like it's like, am I right? Like, it was probably super dark. You got to watch out for everything, not just like your opponents or ops or whatever the kids say nowadays, but you also got to look like for the wildlife, where you put your footing. It was probably a very scary and danger situation just to be in, and especially at that age.
Yeah. A lot of our battles were in the dark or night,
Yeah.
but the 3 different times I wounded were all daylight.
Really crazy. Yeah, and 3 times. That's wild. You think maybe the first time you'd want to stay home after that, right? But
That's right. Well, that's the thing, Eric. It's like, so I was aboard the ship for a while, and then couldn't stay there for a while because they needed the bed.
mhm.
People
Yeah.
were getting wounded, and so when I went back, I was kind of like on light duty, which didn't mean much. I mean, uh, uh, but it's like, okay, I'm aboard this ship. It's nice, peaceful, and quiet here.
Yeah.
There's no booby traps anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to worry about anything. You're
Yeah,
getting fed, you have a bed,
there
there's
you go.
lights.
That's right.
Yeah.
Getting some of that good Navy food,
Yeah. Yeah.
and beat the heck out of the sea rations. But and so then to go back, you feel a little bit of apprehension about that,
Mm.
right? Because now, last time you were out there, they shot you.
Yeah.
But the difference, from that, the tour duty was only supposed to be 13 months. And so, but like in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and stuff like that, people went back and forth. They would do multiple tours of duty, and so you take an individual, then he comes home, goes back to his family life, he's sits, at the dinner table with his wife and son or daughter or both, or with his children, maybe grandma's there too or something, and pretty soon he gets orders to go back again.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you like start, I guess you could say, like, getting back into civilization, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and not have to, like, going to bed and not worrying if you're not going to wake up or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, being stable, having something stable. Yeah, definitely. That would really shake someone up too, and be like, guess what? It's time to go back. And that would be scary, definitely, because you thought that you're done there too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the second time I was wounded was shrapnel from a rocket, and that was pretty bad too, but it wasn't as bad as the first one. So I didn't go to the hospital for that, not to the ship hospital, but rather I went to the field hospital, and so fortunately, it didn't stay there long either. Went back. We were always short of people,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
short of troops, right?
definitely, definitely.
And so, you're not going to have a prolonged stay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get back out there and get a suntan.
Yeah. I
But,
like that.
but, so then then going back, but the third time I was riding on the side of the tank, and we had been called out to a different company had been ambushed, and so we were going out to help them. And I was riding on the side of the tank, another fella and me, and I'm sitting there, and I have the machine gun across my lap,
Mhm.
sit there, and it's very narrow where this tank is going through.
Like all bushes, kind of like a path.
Right, very jungle-y. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if jungle-y is a word or not, but it's a lot of.
It is now. It is now.
And,
Hashtag jungly.
yeah. But they looked up in front, and I could see it was Alpha Company sitting up there, and they were sitting on the back end of a truck, kind of, it's called a 6x. It's like a pickup truck in a way,
Yep.
a little bit larger, and they're just sitting there. And it's like, Sunday afternoon or something,
Yeah.
Getting ready for the game to come on. I don't know. But the thing of it is, well, what the heck? Why'd we come out here? And so, but the thing about that was just have a sense of relief, because you're pretty tense, because the other company had just been ambushed.
Yeah.
And so it could happen to us any moment.
And you're going out there to help them too, right?
Right.
So,
And we're going there
and
to
that's
help.
your mindset, is like, where the hell is? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're ready to fight. And so well, what the heck, And so you wonder even why they called us out. But you do just have a release, right?
Yeah.
Because of the relief of that. Okay, everything's cool. And about that time, we were ambushed.
And that's when you let your guard down, right?
Right, just at that
Yeah.
moment. And we were hit from the side with an incinerating round.
Is that the side that you were sitting on too? Like
Yes.
the tank? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And so when it hit, part of it actually penetrated the tank, but for the most part, it all ricocheted. And it's an incinerating round.
Yeah.
So it just, burned through my leg and my foot. And the guy next to me hit him in the neck. And when his blood just went all over me. And so I thought it was my blood.
Mhm.
And again, the very same time, like the first time when that happened, I was surely dead.
Yeah.
And there's, there's smoke and
Noise is going on. You're probably hearing shots. Like everything is just
everything's
chaotic,
happening.
right? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And so, and I actually just, felt my, pretty presumptuous, I guess, of me, but I felt myself rising. And so, I'm dead, heaven. And about that time,
we lost your video.
I see me on there.
It's okay. Yeah. I just can't see you. I don't know. I'm going to try something here for a second. There we go. Sorry, we had a little bit of issue with the video, but we're back. So you were saying, yeah. So you're sitting on the tank, and incendiary round came. You felt it go through you, and then it hit your partner there on the tank, and then his blood was all over you, and then you thought it was yourself.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And that's when I could just feel myself lifting, right? And so I knew I was dead. I was on my way to heaven, I guess. and then I heard the tank commander holler out. He said, "Get off the tank!" And when he hollered that, I knew that wasn't God. And so I said, "Well, I'm not dead." And so I jumped. And when I jumped off the tank and when I hit the ground, I knew that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite painful, jumping on it. And so the area was cleared, pretty much. So then we had the medevac helicopter came in and got a few of us, took us back, and went to a field hospital first. And then that was it. I was there one night and then on my way back to the United States. I spent several months in the hospital and in the Great Lakes Naval Hospital. And that from there, I went to I&I duty.
I&I duty is?
I&I, it's inspector and instructor. And so we were training reserves. They would come to us on the weekend, and then 2 weekends out of the year in the summer, we'd take them to San Diego for 2 weeks of training.
Okay. But,
go
on.
But our main duty on I&I duty was to notify next of kin.
I was just going to ask you about this. Yes.
when their son or husband was killed or wounded in action, and that we were the honor guard for that fallen Marine, which truly was honorable duty. But Erick, it took its toll.
I mean, if you could see these goosebumps right now, man, like I can't. I mean, very honorable. You know, you get to present, you know, one of your fallen brothers that's helped, you know, create freedoms and or whatever it may be that was, you know, they're fighting for. Let's face it, war is ugly, you know, and there's no real freedom, I guess you could say, really, when it comes to it. Everybody loses, you know, really, except for the higher ups that gets all the money back, I guess, or whatever you want to say. But I mean, just being able to do that though is like, I hard, man. Like that's all I could really that comes to my mouth right now in my mind is like that must have been hard, you know?
I found that in a lot of ways that was more difficult than being in actual combat. It truly was painful.
Was it like the black car, you know, rolls up? Was it like how you see on movies, kind of like how it is? Like was
Well,
it
yeah,
Lincoln
in
or
our
whatever?
case it was Marine Corps green.
Green, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God, man, I know what it's like losing people, you know what I mean? And I know
Sure.
what it's like firsthand telling someone that someone's gone, you know? Like I had to do that when my fiance passed away. I had to go and tell her best friend.
Wow.
Like and going to her house and soon as she saw me open the door, you know, with a mutual friend, it was instant she knew. You
Yeah.
know, she knew. And I was like, I'm grieving myself in that situation.
Oh yeah.
And it was hard to like, I mean, it was just hard. And you know what
Oh,
I mean? So like I know not to the extent of like what you guys do, right? Every fan, but I know I've been there. I've told someone, you know, so I mean
sure.
it's hard, you know. And I don't like me losing my fiance at the time and then telling her best friend, I didn't know how to react, you know? You know, like like even though I lost, like I didn't know how to comfort this person and you know what I mean? Because anything I say, it doesn't matter, you know. Even with people, when you lose someone, people can say whatever they want, you know, but there's no fixing it, you know. There's no matter what you say, there's no bringing that person back or fixing it, you
Right.
know. So yeah, I can't. I just want to say my hat goes off to you for being able to do that. And you know what, you're as hard as it is, it's a beautiful service too, you know, that you get to provide these families, you know, with the flag. I believe that's how you guys in America do it, right? You give the flag and everything,
At,
you
at
know, and
at the funeral, yes.
at the funeral, yeah. So I mean, it's just, man, I'm sorry that you had to go through this, but at the same time, thank you for doing that.
It 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 was very difficult to uh, keep control. Really, the I spent a lot of time in the evening at the bar. I mean that was my at that time that's what I resulted to was the
Mhm.
bottle and so the I I knew a lot of the bars in the city at that time.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I know this is like a men's mental health and like, you know, it's I try to deter people from using but like how can you not, you know, like when and I'm sorry to really bring this up, but I mean like the imprint of people's faces that you have to tell them, you know, and like the act you're carrying all that. Like how? You know what I mean? Like I mean there's no I would be in the same boat, man. You know what I mean? I would have to drink just to hide my demons. You know, it's a hard thing, and I honor you, man. I really do, and I just want to say thank you, and I'm proud of you for you know where you are today and what you did for the country.
The 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 tough part too, I mean, looking back at my age now and looking back then when I was early 20s when I did that. So it was like there's there are better ways of handling that, of course.
Hmm.
At that particular time, my faith was in the Marine Corps and in myself, not God. And as I became an old man, I learned that my faith needed to be in God.
Hmm.
And I suppose, well, I believe that had my faith been in God at that time, I probably could have handled that much better.
That's fair. That's totally. I appreciate you being honest. That's yeah. So in your book, you know, like about I think I said 50 years later, right? It really kind of really hit you, right? After everything and like holding all that, like did you even have like a release or some kind of besides obviously the bar and stuff, did you have some kind of release before like really learning that 50 years later that like this became definitely a problem in your head, right?
It was actually, the thing of it was, starting with my dad dying. When I got in the Marine Corps and I was surrounded by death always, the whole time. And then even coming back from combat duty. And then my job is to notify people that their son or husband died,
Mhm.
just more death. And my last year in the Marine Corps, I get a phone call from my brother saying that my mother was dying and probably wouldn't live through the night. And I'd already told my mother, she had asked me, because I knew she was sick, she had cancer. And if my younger brother and sister didn't graduate, if she died before they graduated from high school, she asked if I would be their guardian. I said, yeah, of course I would. Not knowing what in the world that meant
Mhm.
at the time, still a stupid kid. Just difference, I was a stupid kid in uniform now.
Mhm.
But so then she did die that night. Then after the funeral, I went back to duty and I requested from headquarters of Marine Corps that I be discharged, take care of my younger brother and sister. And they allowed it and I was discharged. And I became the guardian. But that was, so from the time I was in high school and my dad died all the way up to now, it's all been death, surrounded, somebody dying around me. And so it was, I had a lot of nightmares, but it's something I kept to myself. I wouldn't tell anybody I was having a nightmare. That'd be weak.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was a United States Marine.
Supposed to be the toughest of the toughest, right? That's what the Marines, the whole thing, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm part of the greatest fighting force the earth has ever known, the United States Marine Corps. I am tough. I'm strong. And so if I would say, well, I'm having nightmares, and such things as words like PTSD were never now
Mhm.
part of the Veterans Administration vocabulary. They didn't admit that until the early 80s. And so that was a long time after I was
Yeah.
out of the Marine Corps.
But
And
you were
so,
dealing with all this PTSD, not knowing really what it is until it came out, actually, right?
correct. And
Yeah.
nor would I admit it,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
it was at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because,
Well, and suck it up, right? That's like I was raised from the old. Pardon me?
yeah, that's right. Suck it up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, and
the
that's what
word.
I was raised from the old like my grandpa was in the Vietnam War, right? He fought. He did a couple tours actually. He was back and forth. I have a lot of family, but so I was raised with that really rough, my dad was rough. My dad and my grandpa was a mean old man. Not to me, but to his son, right? My dad. And
Yeah.
my dad was mean. And like when I got depressed when I was younger, I'd be like, suck it up, get over it, be happy. You're depressed. It'll go away. Be a man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Be a man.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's what it was. Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's
So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, to show that being a man truth is sharing your feelings, talking about these things, real strength. This is why I do what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah. God bless you for it.
Thank you, brother.
It's
Thank
very
you.
good. Yeah. That's excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so go on. Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, that's not something that I would admit just for that reason. I think it started in World War One, I think is where they called it shell shock.
Shell shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that shell shock, I mean, that sounds like a weakness. That's something,
Mhm.
how could I be associated with something like that? But the whole truth of it, looking back today and looking at my younger self and what I went through, and actually I still went into business, very successful as a CPA, had my own business. And I worked every day I was in college so I could become a CPA. And so it's like nothing in my past showed any weakness whatsoever. And so it's like it came to the point to where I couldn't take it anymore. I broke down from that.
Your cup was too full.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And truly, Eric, that's when I surrendered. I didn't surrender to an enemy. I surrendered to God. And I turned my life over to God. And I asked for his forgiveness and guidance. And through that process, I'm telling you that the surrender isn't the weakness either. That truly takes strength. And it takes strength to be on a worldwide podcast such as yours
Mhm.
and tell people
Definitely.
what I did.
115 countries.
There you go. Right? And so it's like, that's not weakness
Yeah, man.
by any means. And so the difference is the strength that I had from the day I was in the Marine Corps until up to the time I surrendered to God. That was my strength. From that point on, it's God's strength that has lifted me up and gave me the ability, gave me the courage to talk to you and to reach out to other people. And so
It's
they
like
can,
holy armor you're wearing almost.
well, they can see what a goofball I was, but still I can recover and I can reach out and I can be useful. And I totally changed my purpose. My purpose first was to help people with their income taxes, which I love to do and I did often. And that was my whole business for multiple years. And so that helping people with their, to get a letter from the Internal Revenue Service, it's like, oh my gosh, now, type of thing, right?
It's going to a different kind of war, right? That's a different kind of war.
Exactly. And I put a lot of people at rest about that. We gave them peace of mind, knowing that I can take care of it for them, just to relax and we're going to fix it. But this is even bigger. This is even better. It's a better purpose. And this purpose is reaching out and letting people is that there's a better way than being a tough guy on the street and keeping everything to yourself and in your mind, where you can be open about it and knowing that people want to help.
You know what, man? Like, you are exactly why Raw Minds is here, is for men like you and your stories, from pain to power, and that's like how I say it is my whole thing is pain to power. I've gone through so much pain and I found the silver lining in it and I used that and turned it into my power. And now here I am, like I said, in 115 countries, worldwide, producing this content to help people, and having amazing people like yourself on the show and them telling, like you for yourself, telling your stories to help people, because you never know, like, if your story or someone else's story or whoever can just touch that one person to change their life and be like, hey, like, I relate to that, and if that guy can do it, I can do it. And it's saving lives. I mean, I think if the first time we talked months ago, that's like me. Like, I've had so much death around in my life, over just alone. I say over 40 people, and it's way over 40 people. I watched every single one of my family members take their last breaths in our house because my mom was a nurse and they wanted to pass away in our house, not in the hospital, And that was from the age of 5 all the way up to 18. And that's and that's not to mention like my friends passing away over the years, plus my best friend, then my dog, and then my fiance, and now and in between that, I had friends passing. Like, those were the major milestones of my life, right? But the most important. Not saying that the other friends that passed away weren't important, but I mean those were the closest people. I said,
sure.
And then now I'm dealing with my mom. She's got lung cancer in both of her lungs, So it's hard, but this is why I do these, to show people, that like the struggle is real. I don't have my shit together. I do not have my shit together. Okay. And I try my best and I show up. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is showing up and trying, and this is why I'm here. I just want to show people this is real. I'm real. I struggle every day. I'm not perfect, but yet I keep on going and I kick ass because there's no failure in this blood, right? And that's what I try to help other people to do and have that same mindset. And it's people like yourself that come on the show and help, push that negative or narrative all over the world to help change this world. So thank you.
Thank you. And certainly thank you, Eric, for everything you're doing.
I appreciate. I just, before we do end it here, I just want to go though. How did the books come into play? Because we got to talk about the books here, man. We gotta talk about the books. So how did the books come into play as well?
After I cried out to God to help me and forgive me for my many wrongdoings, I kind of wondered what in the world, what happened to that little kid that wanted to be a preacher? How did they get from there to here, and everything in between? And so I just started writing about it, and as I was doing it, I realized that, wait a minute, this isn't just, I mean, it was helping me, and then having God's recovery plan as well, and to follow that. was something that was definitely helping me deal with my situation. And so realizing that I wasn't the only person fighting in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I said, well, wait a minute, not even that, look at how many other wars the United States at least has been in. And so but you don't even have to be in the military. You don't even have to be a veteran. There's so much. I started calling it the other day, I call this the smorgasbord of trauma. I mean, there's so many different things in our lives that can present trauma to us, right? Just take your pick. They're all out there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter, man, woman, child. I have a chapter in the book that says of the men of the Bible who had trauma, who had a burnout. And they'd never used the word burnout, of course, in the Bible, but the symptoms of it. And so I wrote it about some of the men in the Bible, and I thought, well, got to be equal. So I also wrote a chapter on women in the Bible. And my wife was looking at that, and she says, women have trauma? Women have burnout? And I said, well, of course they do. And so even children do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of that to go around. So I thought, well, if it helps me, why wouldn't it help someone else? But what I started doing was, rather than writing, because I was writing to myself to start with, then I said, okay, wait a minute, I'm gonna write this so that it goes to everybody. So instead of writing it about me, I created a fictitious Marine that I named Kevin Casey. But throughout the book is my memories and my pain and my recovery. So everything in the book is factual except for the names of the individuals, and in those I changed.
I think it's beautiful what you've done and what you've are still doing and helping back. And I think that you're a healer, man. You really are. So at the beginning you said you wanted to be a pastor, and having your church, right? You're doing that as a kid, right?
That's right.
Right. In a sense, you're really doing that, but just in a different way. You really are, with even coming on this podcast with all these people. Your book, it may not be helping in the way that you think you want it to, as in the pastor way, but it is really, in a sense. So I just want you to know that you're still living that little kid's dream, just in a different version of it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, Keith, I just want to say thank you again, man, for coming on Raw Minds. It was a real pleasure. I'm really happy to honestly have this conversation with you and be the start of my 4-week break there that I had. A great episode to bring back to the community. So I just want to say thank you again. And all of your stuff will be in the bio. So if you want to check out Keith's stuff, it'll be in the bio. And then here's the workbook here we got. I will show you this. Here is the PDF. You have this, the Burnout. This is the book, right? Am I right? That's the book. And then you have the website. So you guys have everything else will be in the bio below. So check it out and give Steve some love and read the book and check it out. Yeah. Check out Kevin, right? It's Kevin, AKA Keith.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. I just want to say thank you again for coming on Raw Minds, and I appreciate everything that you've come here and shown the world. So thank you again.
Yeah, and thank you, and thank everybody in your audience for listening today.
Well, they love it. Trust me, they love it. On that note, thank you again, everybody. I appreciate you all coming in, and sorry again for taking this 4-week break. And we will see you guys next week for a new episode. Bye.
Raw Minds. Men's Mental Health. Hosted by Erick. Follow, subscribe, like, share. For the ones we never meet, you're not alone.